Bam, 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 dun, 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 dun. You see me now, the veteran of the OGL Wars. What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OGL War veteran that is the OGGM, broadcasting live from a very rainy Site B on this exhausting Monday morning, 30th day of the month of the first month of the year, January 2023, Dungeon 2023. Remember on January 1st when I said what my New Year's resolution was? I was like, please, please, dear patron saint of all merchandising, Hello Kitty, I just want 2023 to be completely uneventful year. I want nothing to happen. Well, I got my wish for 4 whole days. And now as the OGL war flames start to trickle away, and we are now waiting for the results and the repercussions and how Wizards of the Coast is going to rebound and how many people are going to return to D&D 5e or keep the flame going and run off to other systems and other genres. It's time to take a look at tabletop role-playing game news, the stories that are going to percolate during this week. And I'm sure there's probably something going on in the world that has nothing to do with the OGL and Dungeons and Dragons. Did you know they've started casting and working on a Tron 3 movie? Do you care? Because apparently they are. And Jared Leto is somehow attached to it, so yeah, Tron 3. I don't know if we needed a Tron 3. I guess the new villain will be crypto coins. He's NFT mining me, Tron. What do I do? Yeah, Tron 3. What's going on in the gaming world that doesn't involve Wizards of the Coast? Well, indirectly, thanks to the mishandling of this situation by Wizards of the Coast, the sales for other games have skyrocketed, while Wizards of the Coast product still sits on the shelves gathering dust at game stores, and there are entire warehouses filled with books from the past 2 years that Wizards of the Coast can't give away. They're probably going to explain why they sent me that free stuff. They just can't give the stuff away right now. So this predates, this OGL nonsense. We got our notice that Hasbro is laying off 1,000 people, and of course the few fear mongers out there are blaming us that because of the OGL nonsense cost 1,000 Hasbro employees their jobs, and somehow in 3 weeks we managed to cost 1,000 Hasbro employees worldwide their jobs. Except this was already in place before this was even considered, and the OGL thing dropped. And this has nothing to do with D&D sales, and it's everything to do with the fact that Hasbro took a $60 million loss this year. Stock plummeted to a record 34%. Product is sitting on the shelves. The mishandling of Magic the Gathering, and yes, the D&D thing did play some part in this, but no, that was before this. I mean, the 1,000 people getting fired are a result of Q3, which was 2023. So, yeah, these people are not losing their jobs because of the OGL nonsense over the past 4 weeks. You know who is losing their jobs, though? Potentially 60 employees at Wizards of the Coast, including the Dungeons and Dragons Director of Creativity. The Dungeons and Dragons Director of Creativity is possibly going to be losing their job, which means, because we're looking to replace whoever that is, which I'm pretty sure is Crawford. So, yeah, we know that several Wizards of the Coast employees bravely took it upon themselves to take part in the OGL revolution and are now worried sick that they're going to feel the repercussions. So again, please do not post any hateful content about Wizards of the Coast employees, because they're just living in constant fear of how this is going to affect their future. And with 60 positions currently open to be filled or replaced at Wizards of the Coast as they take D&D digital, they're concerned. So that's the story. Is there anything else going on in the world that doesn't involve Hasbro? Hey, there's a new Dune source book coming out. It's a 128-page book from Modiphius or Mophidius. It's the next expansion in the Dune Adventures in the Imperium's game. Don't have a price yet, but it looks like it's going to cost around $38, which is pretty reasonable for a game book these days. We have a tech and style guide for Cyberpunk Red from Artisolian. If you remember the old Chrome books, this looks like they're restarting the new Chrome books, but it's called Black Chrome. Why does she need glasses? Unless it's an affectation. You live in the cyberpunk world. You don't even really need eyes, but I guess it matches your whatever it is you're wearing here. We'll copy this picture, sure. Helicopter. Would they still use helicopters in Black Chrome Cyberpunk? I guess if you can't afford a flying car. The maneuverability of a helicopter probably is slightly better for a large city than a mini jet or jetpack or flying car. I don't know. We have something called Encounters in a Box from WizKids. So this is an entire encounter in a box, including the figures, some terrain, a map, 2D standees. These are going to run around $30. So here's one called Prison Break as the example. So I guess these solid pieces make up the prison. And then you've got the mappy here. And then you've got some figures to be in prison. Why is this poor dog in prison? Oh, it's probably a guard dog. Hasbro don't. No. In response to the whole OGL thing, several companies have come forward and are offering their take on open licenses. Of course, Pazio's Orc being the number one. And we have Cobalt Press with Project Black Flag. We've got Matt Colville's making his own. Level Up 5e has released their SRD. Crucible 7 has announced their new SRD. Vastgrim Expansions has announced their new SRD. Of course, we've got a lot of small companies like the Basic Expert and all these other little people making SRDs, open source OGLs, as a response to Wizards of the Coast nonsense. And sales of third-party product have skyrocketed. Pazio sold, 6 months worth of Pathfinder project in 3 days. The hundreds of thousands of dollars that are pouring into the coffers of Pazio and Call of Cthulhu and Level Up 5e and all the other companies out there. And of course, we're getting, lambasted and insulted and threatened because other companies are trying to make money off the love of D&D. Because remember, this whole OGL thing was about how much we hate D&D and want to kill it and want to tell you can't play D&D anymore and how we're coming to your house to burn your D&D books. Yes, that hate speech is still being spread by the few idiots out there who feel the need to remain relevant by turning what was, a very positive moment in us standing up to a oppressive Wizards of the Coast and saying, no, you can't do this to the beloved game. And we are going to fight for the freedom of people all over the world to play the way they want, publish what they want, and not worry about people telling them that they're horrible. And of course, we have the very, very small, dwindling, shallow end of the 5e pool now coming out and telling us how horrible that we are. And one of the things that they are saying, of course, is, well, now that we've, put up and spent the past 4 weeks trying to get D&D shut down, and what are we going to do? Because there are no third-party content out there ready to take the place, so we're all bluster. Yes, because in the past 24 years, not a single solitary third-party 5e product has come out. Not a single solitary third-party tabletop role-playing game has come out. So, yeah, we do need to put up and shut up, because we've spent the past 3 weeks fighting so people like you can have the freedom to say stuff like this about us. And and now that it's over, the Orc, they've stopped working on that. Cobalt Press with the 60,600 signatures for the playtest for Project Black Flag. Yeah, the new age system, the new Level Up 5e, all these other game companies are just going, you're right. You're right. There is no third. Oh, wait, what's this? Here's a list. Here's a list of the third-party projects that have been made in the past couple years for either 5e or other games. Well, this is only a partial list. Last count, there are 3,000 OSR OGL products out there. 3,000 all over the world, between retro clones and OGL 1.0 clones that came out during the beginning years of the OGL, to companies that are still making product today that use some version of that SRD. So yeah, whoever is spreading this rumor that we need to put something out now, even though we do have, multiple projects coming out in response to this OGL nonsense, including, Orc from Pazio, Project Black Flag from Cobalt Press, Level Up 5e SRD from EN World, plus all the little people out there who are making their own, like Grim Jim and everybody else. Yeah, you really shouldn't worry about us. You should worry about what Wizards of the Coast has planned next. Now, here's where we sort of leave the realm of cold, hard facts and enter into the realm of speculation based upon the cold, hard facts. So we know that Wizards of the Coast allegedly capitulated and on Friday released their apology and made available the 5.1 SRD that contains pretty much everything that's in the D&D handbook and then some few other things. And they put it under Creative Commons. So supposedly, now that it's under Creative Commons, it can never be changed again. They claim, as of now, the OGL 1.0 is irrevocable. You can continue to make stuff for 5th edition for the next year if you want. The question is, well, what about 4th edition? What about 3rd edition? What about 2nd edition? How does this affect companies that use the OGL that don't make D&D adjacent product at all? Everyday Heroes, Mutants and Masterminds, Spycraft, all games, all made under the OGL, none of which are D&D. So none of which are, I'm going to use the SRD because no, I'm not. I'm writing a superhero game. So I need to know that I can continue to write my superhero game going forward. Plus, as everybody's like, yay, we won. Everybody's forgetting, well, wait a minute. 2024 is still going to happen. Wizards of the Coast still is having their plans. Wizards of the Coast has not changed what they're going to do in 2024. So yeah, we got a new SRD. And wow, there's things in this SRD that have never been available to us before. Is this just a gift to show their appreciation because we stood up and we're like, hey, yeah, use these things we've never let you use before since, day one. Like Beholders and Strahd and Doppelgangers. Those are in there. Right here. Beholders, Mind Flayers, Strahd, a whole bunch of other stuff that we used to not be able to have access to are now in the SRD. Was this on purpose? Was this a gift? Hey guys, here. Was this on accident? It's like, dude, we need to rush this out right now. Just copy and paste whatever you've got laying around. And then they're like, oh my God, we didn't mean to put that in there. Or was it something slightly more insidious? Because we know 6e is coming out, and we know 6e is not going to be backwards compatible. We know 6e is going to have its own SRD, and most likely some version of its own game license, similar to what they did with 4th, probably exactly what they did with 4th. And we know that they still expect you to spend $30 a month to log on to D&D Beyond to play whatever it is you're going to play. Those digital plans have not changed. Cynthia Williams are still out there talking about this. I mean, literally, here they are talking about it right now. This was just posted this morning. And this is directly from Hasbro and the board of directors, including our friends Chris Cook and Mrs. Williams. Chris Cook, of course, being the guy who says, I don't need to play D&D to understand how D&D work. Let's see, we got Scott Thorne has said that the future of D&D and Magic is not physical, but digital. We're not going to be supporting it anymore after 2026. We're going digital. Here's another one from, who is this guy? Is this from Scott Thorne also? No, Scott Thorne has said, everyday technology and distribution channels are the market we're going to try and get for. Only 4 members of the Hasbro board of directors have anything relating to knowledge of how gaming works. The stewards of D&D and Magic the Gathering are missing. The chief operation officer of Elizabeth Hammond has no experience with gaming. She was one of the 4 that came in. She knew about global marketing and sales of meta platforms on Microsoft. She doesn't know the first thing about Dungeons and Dragons. She's a chief operating officer. We've got, of course, Alta Fox, which is the group that it owns 2.3 shares of Hasbro controlling, and they don't know the first thing about board gaming. We've got Blake Jorgensen, who is the executive vice president and chief financial officer, who has a decade of being chief financial officer for companies and CFOs for video games, but never once did anything for D&D. And of course, we've got Mr. Cook. Mr. Cook, the gentleman who says, I don't need to play D&D to understand the game because we are taking it digital. People want D&D, World of Warcraft. They don't want to play physical D&D. We're not going to support physical D&D. Joe Finkel, who is currently, I guess, somehow involved with the Magic the Gathering, and I guess is the managing partner and co-chief investment officer of the Magic the Gathering thing. So this is probably the guy they're going to throw under the bus when the Magic the Gathering numbers come out at the end of Q1. He has no experience with Magic the Gathering. We have the president and CEO of Wizards of the Coast, Mr. Cook. I don't know if he's above or below Miss Williams. If it's Miss Williams and Mr. Cook, then somewhere in there's Crawford, who's going to lose his job. This is another guy, no experience with D&D, no experience with video games, but he has worked for multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar electronic entertainment companies. Now, yay, we got D&D 5.1, and yay, for the first time we have access to things we never had time before. But our people are saying, this is pretty similar to what Games Workshop did right before they switched over to Age of Sigmar and made all new stuff that wasn't backwards compatible. They put a lot of stuff out there that for the longest time hadn't been accessible to Warhammer players, and then they're like, here it is. And then they're like, oh, by the way, we're making Age of Sigmar, which is completely new, thus making that stuff pointless. So why did they give us Beholder? Was it a mistake? Was it a gift? Or are they just clearing out? Here, have all these things that are canon in current D&D, because starting next year, they're not going to be. 6e is going to be something completely new. And look at all these people we are hiring who are digital video game people. Look at all the positions that we are trying to replace at Wizards of the Coast with digital artists, digital creators, digital directors, people who have worked for Microsoft, people who are familiar with digital marketing. The plans for the future of D&D have not changed. You have gotten a year, a shot of adrenaline in the D&D marketplace for another year, bare minimum, before in 2024 they go, whoops, we're not making any D&D more 5e stuff, and we're not supporting it anymore. Should this come as a surprise to anyone? We've only been telling you this since 2020. But OGGM, you're just rumor mongering and hate mongering. None of this is going to be true. You're just trying to get clicks. You don't know what you're talking about. And you know what, dude? I hope you're right. I hope all the people who have sent me Coast over the last week since we started talking this are right and I'm wrong. I hope Wizards of the Coast does none of the things that I'm suggesting they're going to do in 2024. I hope between now and 2024, Hasbro goes, hey, you know those things we've been talking about since 2020? You know that plan we made for 2023 through 2027? You know the fact that we literally have on the calendar for June 2027 Dungeons and Dragons 6X? Yeah, no, just throw those all away. We're going to continue to do what we've been doing for D&D since we took over D&D all those years ago. Boom. Before the 4th edition wars. Yeah, trust us. We're worthy of your trust. We haven't done anything in the last day or two to make you guys think you can't trust us. Like literally put out, post where what we think about you guys and what our goals for the digital thing starting next year with that $30 a month plus membership to continue to use D&D Beyond and play 6e. But 5e's got product coming out from Wizards of the Coast right now. Look, Legends of the Golden Vault is out like today. Yeah, because they said they were going to make those, and these are the last of the 5e, none of which will be backwards compatible when 6e starts in 2024. Those things were already on the back burner, some of them probably for months, if not years. So, yeah, of course they're going to release the stuff that they've already said they're going to release. And chances are none of that stuff is going to move because the last 2 years has shown us that Wizards of the Coast product doesn't move. But that's okay because you're going to get access to the digital aspect of all those a couple days before you get access to the physical one. And isn't it easier just to spend slightly less money to have the digital aspect of Golden Vault of the Keys of the North available to you via D&D Beyond and your paid subscription to D&D Beyond? And isn't it nice to know that if and when the virtual tabletop goes live, everything you bought will automatically be upgraded to the new virtual tabletop as long as it's not 5th edition, because the new virtual tabletop is not going to support 5th edition. It's not going to support third party. It's not going to support homebrew. It's not going to support OGL 1.0. It's only going to support 6e. The only game we're going to support 6e. The only product we're going to make 6e. 5e done as of January 1st, 2024. If you want to make 5e product after that, well, I mean, we can't stop you, but we're not going to support it. And if you want to make 6e product, which of course you do want to make 6e product because there is no more 5e, you got to sign the documents. You got to jump through the hoops. You got to give us a percentage of those sales. Yeah, but let's hope I'm wrong. Let's hope the reason why they gave us Beholder and everything else and all this stuff that the CEOs and the directors and the co-directors and all these other people that are associated with Wizards of the Coast are just smoke and mirrors. They gave us Beholder because they wanted to give us Beholder, not because they're trying to erase it from history, much like Games Workshop did when they released Age of Sigmar. Right? It's all butter, right? Everything's safe. Is there anything else going on in the tabletop role-playing game news besides this? Hasbro stock is down another $1. Sweet Mary and Joseph, save us, Maki Ito, our God. It is not going to be a good year for D&D. And of course, we are now suffering the slings and arrows of insults and being called repugnant. People are comparing us to Nazis. So glad that we spent 3 weeks fighting for the right for people to continue to be able to make D&D product and continue to play D&D whatever way they want and continue to be able to talk about D&D whatever they want, only for people to tell us how horrible we were. And that whole censorship thing, that's just out there. Yes, yeah. I mean, it was never backwards compatible, and they have no plans to make it backwards compatible. 6e will be a completely separate entity other than, the few things we recognize, like Strength, Dex, Con. And those might even be gone because somebody's going to say, oh, Strength, Dex, Con is problematic. It's not inclusive. It is ironic that the company who's all about inclusion, who just put out a survey about how inclusive we are and what you want with Open D&D and OGL, failed to make said survey available in any other language other than English. Yeah, there was no Hispanic version of that survey. Weird. But they're inclusive. As long as you have $30 a month to play 6E, plus buy all the books and the digital content, we're inclusive because everybody has that kind of money, right? That's it. I got nothing else today. I need to go to the pharmacy and pick up some prescriptions before it starts raining again. And ladies and gentlemen, I am exhausted. We still have to start work on Dungeon 23 for the next month. We still need to finish off and start creating new product for our Minions on a Mission product line over on Big Geek Emporium. And as you can tell, once again, my brain is not working up to speed. God, I don't know why you people listen to me. I'm obviously just a carrot sitting in a chair with no brains whatsoever. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you never wanted to hear me talk about this content ever again, let me know. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'm looking at you. Yeah, you, right over there in the plaid shirt. I know you haven't subscribed yet. Please subscribe. Help me hit a ridiculously large amount of subs by the end of 2023. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to beg, but this is my job. So if you want to support the OGGO in 2023, the best way to do it is, of course, buy my merchandise, available only, exclusively, boom, oh yeah, on Big Geek Emporium. Four current products up, including Dungeon 23 Month 1. Yeah. You can also do the super chats. I've got the Buy Me Coffee. I've got a Patreon, which I don't know if I'm ever going to use, but those are all great ways you can support the OGGM adventures. The best way, of course, is subscribing and letting me know that you're out there and want to talk. Till next time. Oh, dude, you don't want to know. Talk to you later. Why am I so tired?